What's good, y'all? It's your boy BioSpider 3.0 back with part two of the lyric breakdown of The Kick by XV. So yesterday we did part one, and I finished the video right before we got to the chorus. So now we're getting into the chorus and the second verse, which is the final verse of the song. And yeah, so we're gonna pretty much jump right into it. I did realize that I actually left out a few lines from the first verse. I accidentally kind of like skipped over a few of the lines in the beginning, but they basically tie into like with everything that I was saying, like in my breakdown of those like first four lines, because it's pretty much like all tied together. So those really don't need any more explanation. But I kind of skipped over this part right here where he says, "Ha, but F it, I don't want to leave, because you could never have." Or sorry, he's even before that he says, "I know this life with all the lights and how it ain't true. Ha, but F it, I don't want to leave, because you could never have deja vu if you don't ever dream." So pretty like self explanatory, right? Like the whole inception concept, and how we talked about like he's living his dream out, like in the real world, and he feels like almost like he's in another world, like in a different reality, and he kind of like wants to stay there and live out his fantasies and whatnot. And then everybody around him is kind of like trying to bring him back to reality, and you know have him live like maybe like a normal type of lifestyle that he's just like not really for, not very excited about. So he would rather stay living his dream, and kind of wishes that people would just maybe like come along with him instead of them trying to like bring him out of what he's living. He wants them to kind of get on his level and meet him where he's at, kind of thing. So yeah, that was just wanted to mention those few lines real quick that I accidentally kind of glossed over yesterday. But now we're at the chorus. So when I posted part one, I noticed that they did put like under my video it says copyright now, and I got scared because I didn't know if they were gonna strike me or not. So far, so good. I haven't heard anything. Like they haven't, like, as far as I know, the video hasn't been flagged or anything, and it definitely hasn't been taken down. It's still up as I'm recording this, so hopefully it stays up because I would really hate to have to like refilm part one all over again. So let's pray. Excuse me. Let's pray that that doesn't happen. But in the case that it does, I do still have the original videos, so maybe I can like worst case scenario, I can find a way to edit that, maybe like take the audio out, and that way we can still have like all the breakdowns and things up, so that we can so you guys can see that part at least, even if you're not able to hear any parts of the song. But I looked it up, and it says like even if you get like a copyright thing like on your video, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna get striked or it's gonna be taken down or flagged or anything. I think it's just kind of like it's more of like a notification to let the artist know like, hey, this person used your song in their video, so you can kind of like, I guess the artist, I guess, can move accordingly, like with that, or like they YouTube works with them basically to find a solution about how they're gonna like, allow the audio to either stay online, or worst case scenario, like I said, it gets taken down or flagged or whatever. I might get a warning on the channel, so I definitely don't want to get any more of those. So that was, that first part was kind of like a test run to see, because I've never really done this before as far as like uploading like people's music. So that was kind of like a test to see what happens, and hopefully I don't get striked for it. But just in case, just to play it safe, I'm not gonna play any more of the audio as we go through the lyrics here. I'm just gonna kind of like read them aloud, and we'll just kind of break them down that way, so I don't get any more possible warnings or strikes, or I don't want to see like another copyright under my video basically. So we're just gonna go through it like that going forward. But let's go ahead and dive into the chorus. So the chorus, this is like one of the dopest choruses, again, like I was saying yesterday, like one of the dopest choruses I've ever heard. Unfortunately I can't play it, but he basically says, "This is the life that I never will forget. I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit. So I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick." And then it repeats, "This is the life that I never will forget. I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit. So I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick, wait for it. So that's just like a super dope, chorus. Obviously, like all tied into like Inception. It really just kind of like brings everything that we were talking about yesterday together. And again, the whole theme of like the Inception movie. The kick is kind of like, I haven't seen Inception in years, so forgive me if I'm like, misremembering this or maybe not explaining it the best. But as I understood it, the kick is kind of it's like a thing. It's like a jolt, like something that they'll do to wake the people that are under, like when they go under to go into like the dream state or whatever and go into that dream world. There's always like a kick, which is basically like a trigger that's gonna kind of like collapse the dream from the inside out, and then bring the person out of that dream state. And usually they die. Like that's the equivalent to them dying in the dream. So like they die and then they wake up, in real life, but they always like end up like getting killed somehow in the dream. And I know there was like a specific scene where somebody was tied to a chair. I think it might have been Leo DiCaprio's character, but he was like in a chair or something, and then he gets like kicked over when they want him to wake up, and then the person like that's in the chair falls backwards like into like a bathtub or whatever, and obviously like the water, like rushing into like their nose and all that like wakes them up, and that kind of like wakes them up out of the dream. So that was like a really ill way, I think, for him to say like in the chorus like, I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit. Like I said at the beginning of the song, like he's living his dream and he never wants to quit. He never wants to wake up from living his dream. Like he wants to stay there. And then he says, so I'm just sitting back waiting for the kick. Like I'm just sitting in the chair, just kicking back, waiting for somebody to, like basically wake me up out of it, or like till my time comes when I die, then I'll wake up like out of this, extravagant dream that I'm living. So I just thought that was a super dope way to say that in this chorus. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, what that is as far as like the hook or the chorus goes. And then we'll jump into the second verse. So he starts the second verse off by saying, Lord, can I change my life with these sentences when I got boys doing life because of sin? Again, going back to that idea about like how his younger brother got incarcerated. And then, I'm sure he has like a lot of like homeboys and like friends that, again, being like caught up in that whole gang culture and stuff, they probably got incarcerated too. Like, he says it right there, I got boys doing life because of sentencing. So he knows people that are literally doing life in jail for, crimes that they committed or maybe didn't commit, but, were charged for. And they're literally doing life in jail. So he's kind of like, again, going back to that idea about like how at the beginning of the song, he's kind of contemplating about his life and counting his blessings. Like, that could have been him. He could have easily been like another one of his homeboys, like locked up for doing something like illegal or, whatever, like getting in trouble with the law. But he didn't. And, thankfully for him, he got to, express how he feels and tell his story through rap, through music, right? And so now he gets to connect worldwide with all these people and kind of like tell his story. And, instead of getting like locked up or like living a very difficult life like some of his, homeboys, unfortunately, ended up living that reality. So he's basically just talking to God. Like at the beginning of this verse, he's saying like, man, can I change my life with these sentences, like with this music? Can I do something positive with this before I, go down like the wrong road, like maybe some of my friends did, or, before something really bad happens to me? Can I change my life with these sentences when I got boys doing life because of sentencing? And then he follows it up by saying, I'm dealing with it every night. That's what penance is. Bald like Bruce Willis, but die hard with a vengeance, kid. I love those two lines. So penance is basically like a self-punishment for something that you've done. Like when you feel guilty about a wrong that you've done, it's like a voluntary self-punishment against yourself as like a way of like repenting, basically. So he's kind of saying like, I'm dealing with it every night. That's what penance is. So like he's almost like, I think what he's trying to say is that he put himself into the position that he's at not necessarily like as far as the music, but just like being like involved with that stuff that maybe got like his homeboys like locked up and whatnot. He's dealing with it every night, meaning like he's thinking about it every night. The fact that his homeboys are locked up, but he's not. Like he's out here kind of like living his dream and making music, and maybe he feels guilty about that, right? Like maybe he has like a I won't say like doubts, but like maybe he's just like, dang, like how come this is all these, how come this good thing is happening for me, but it didn't happen for my homeboys? Like we all come from like the same cloth, same circle. We had like more or less, I guess, the same chances, right, to be successful. And he's kind of like questioning like, why is this happening to me? Why am I the one that's able to like take off with the music and do what I want and not be locked up like some of my homeboys who are probably just as good as people as I am, or if not better, right? So like he's dealing with it every night. That's what penance is. So he's kind of like, it's almost like he kind of, maybe in a way he's like forcing himself to think about that, and he knows that he's responsible for like him being in that position to where he even has to think about that, because like he chose to maybe get involved with some of those things that could have got him locked up but somehow didn't, but his homeboys did. So like he's dealing with it every night. That's what penance is. So that's a really hard line. I like that line. It's very like a very introspective line. You can tell he's like really thinking right there. And then he says, bald like Bruce Willis, but die hard with a vengeance, kid. That's hard. So bald is a double, right? Kind of like so like obviously like when you're balling, like if you're a basketball player, like usually they say you're balling, right? You're balling. Balling can mean like you're literally like balling like a basketball player, like like you're very good, like you got skills. And then balling as like in making money and fame and fortune, being like a celebrity and whatnot. Oops, sorry. You're balling, right? Like you're out here with like celebrity status and all that. And so like balling in that sense, so like he bald, but then bald because Bruce Willis is bald, like he's literally has no hair, he's a bald guy, right? But die hard with a vengeance, kid. And Die Hard, the Die Hard movies, Bruce Willis obviously is like the star of those awesome, great movies. If you haven't seen them, definitely check them out. But yeah, Bruce Willis being the star, John McCain in all those Die Hard movies. I believe one of them actually is called Die Hard with a Vengeance. I think it's like the third or fourth movie maybe. But yeah, Die Hard with a Vengeance, that's like literally the title of one of the Die Hard movies. So he's kind of like, making a quick, slick reference to that. So, I balled like Bruce Willis, but die hard with a vengeance, kid. Like, it's like a slick play off of that movie. And then he's saying like also like, just because like I'm living I think he's saying like people that tend to like blow up and live like that extravagant type of lifestyle, they usually end up paying for it in some kind of like major way. Like either they get killed by somebody like from the outside who like is jealous of them or whatever, because like when you're famous, a lot of times you become a target, unfortunately, and sometimes you get killed, but like whatever it is, sometimes you end up suffering like major consequences from that fame and fortune. And so that's like dying hard, right? Die hard with a vengeance. And then let's see Genius's breakdown of it. Yep, pretty much says right there. It says the same thing I said. It says a play on let's see the annotation on the side here. It says a play on Bruce's appearance, bald, and the title of the movie. So yeah, literally they said exactly what I said. So yeah, that's basically what that line means. I really like that line though, very slick. So that was cool. And then he says, and I'm in this party where all these women is trying to find where ninjas with dollar bills and Benzes is. Finally left what I wanted for what I needed. Can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it. So that's really dope. So he's just kind of like, he's again like describing further about that lifestyle. Like, he's going to parties and stuff, and he's around a lot of like, brothers, right? The ninjas that are, have all these like, they're balling too. Like they got dollar bills and Benzes, and he's kind of like learning the game from, all these people that he's hanging out with, like at these parties and stuff. Other like celebrities and whatnot. And then, obviously there's a lot of women, right, in the entourage surrounding like those same people and stuff. So he's being like exposed to all of that. And then he says, finally left what I wanted for what I needed. Can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it. So I never knew exactly what he meant by this line, but like the finally left what I wanted for what I needed. I was thinking, I always just kind of like speculated and guessed about this line, like what the meaning of that was, especially being that like he followed it up with the can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it. So I kind of figured that maybe he was talking about like again going back to that like party lifestyle where there's like a lot of like beautiful women around him and whatnot. Like maybe he got caught up in all of that at one point and was just like trying to have fun, maybe not taking like relationships very seriously and whatnot. And probably I'm sure he did his thing with like certain girls or whatever that were into him because of like his status in the music and all that. But and then I think what he's saying is like eventually he settled down with somebody that was actually important to him, somebody that he felt he could actually like connect with on a deep level, a girl that actually like understood him beyond the music, like saw him as a person first. So that's always been my take on that line. But Genius has it highlighted, and I've never actually checked what they said. So let's actually go ahead and see what they talk about. Let's see. Oh, whoops. I think I left clicked it by accident. Okay, there we go. Right clicked it. But anyways, either way, Genius says, this is their annotation. They says the want versus need debate in our society is one that is often discussed. While XV might want things like dollar bills and Benzes, he is realizing he has to leave them for what he needs. In this case, this probably includes not only the essentials to survive, but his music. Okay, so yeah, I think that's kind of like along the lines of what I was saying just a minute ago. They didn't really mention anything about a girl. I always assumed like maybe he was talking like more towards like a girl, being that he followed it up with that line, can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it, right? So like, that in itself is kind of like a play on words, right? Like when you're dreaming, your eyes are like literally closed. So you can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it. Like you have to like literally, you have to have your eyes closed, or you have to be like dreaming to be sorry, move this out the way. You have to be like dreaming, right, to understand or like to see yourself even be like my type of girl, right? Because I'm living in my own dreams, so you can't be the girl of my dreams if you don't close your eyes to see it. Like you have to close your eyes to be there with me, kind of thing, right? But yeah, and then again, like finally left what I wanted for what I needed. Kind of like I said, like he at some point he realized like the fame and the fortune and all that stuff is great, but like all of that is just extra. That's like luxury and stuff. And at the end of the day, like you're gonna need a lot more than that to live like a really fruitful life, right? You can't just have like all the expensive cars and jewelry and all that stuff. Like you have to actually have like assets that are gonna protect you in life, like you gotta have like insurance. You gotta be able to pay for your bills, your house. Like there's so many things that go into it. And so I think he's saying like I finally started to focus on the important things and leave like that whole party extravagant, lifestyle behind. Like started focusing on the more adult, mature things to become the person that I needed to be. So I think that was really dope. And then he says, the road less traveled where both of us were headed. Said it would kill us. I told you I won't let it. When my life was plain, most chicks jetted. You said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. Fire verse, or like fire, lines within the verse. So the road less traveled where both of us were headed. Said it would kill us. I told you I won't let it. So again, I think he's kind of like talking to like maybe his girl at the time or like somebody very significant in his life, like a specific girl. And then he said, the road less traveled is like I was looking at the Genius annotation, and they base, the road less traveled is like a, what do you call it? Like an idiom or like an analogy, I guess, to like heaven. Heaven is like the Bible describes the road less traveled as heaven. Like when you go to heaven, it's the road that's, less traveled or whatever. Like because not a lot of people. I'm not gonna say not a lot of people make it to heaven. It's just like, it's the road that I guess people choose not to like travel down a lot of times. Like sometimes a lot of people will give in to their more like evil or like wicked type of like desires, things that would like bring you away from heaven. And so, the road less traveled where both of us were headed, and then said it would kill us. I told you I won't let it. So the way Genius broke this down was really dope. So what they said was, keep doing that. Hold up. Okay, there we go. So what Genius says is the road less traveled refers to heaven in the Bible. Matthew 7 verse 13 says taking this path will kill them, but XV promises it won't really kill them. Another reference to, again, going back to Inception, when they commit suicide to wake up from the dream. So again, he keeps that whole Inception scheme just wrapped, like intertwined throughout the whole song. And it's so genius how he does it, like the way that he's able to integrate the entire theme and concept of Inception and apply it to his own life. Like I think that's one of the dopest things that he's ever done. Like one of the dopest things that's been done in a hip hop song. So I really love how he just constantly keeps that theme of the Inception movie within his verses. And so yeah, the road less traveled where both of us were headed, said it would kill us. I told you I won't let it. So it's almost like he's saying, like if you like assuming that he's talking to a girl, right? I'm assuming that he's saying like if you were to come with me like on this journey, like this musical journey with me and like live this type of life out with me, then it's not going to end up bad in the end. Like we're not going to get killed or like it's not going to be something that like consumes us, right? And like I think he's just like trying to like basically reassure like that girl like, hey, this dream of mine and like this crazy like lifestyle, it's not going to kill us in the end like you think it will. Like maybe she's worried about it and like maybe she's like brought it to his attention. He's like trying to reassure her like, yay, this is not going to kill us. Like we're never gonna like wake up from this dream or like end up like killing ourselves because of like all the madness around us or anything like that. Like it's never going to get to that point. Like he's basically trying to reassure her like, hey, I got you. Like we're in this together. We're gonna get through like all of the trials and tribulations of this kind of life together, because we love each other. So I think that's really dope. And then he, to like even further kind of like back up that idea, he reminds her of like how much she's been there for him through all of it. Because he says, when my life was plain, most chicks jetted. You said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. So let me move the camera a little bit so you guys can see those lyrics good. But yeah, so I always loved that line. To be honest, it took me a while to catch the second line. Like it took me a little bit. Like I had to like hear the song like multiple times before I caught the second line. But the first one always like I pretty much caught like right away. So it's a play on words for plain. So he's using like PLAIN, like something that's plain, right? Very plain, not a lot to it. And then obviously the word plane, like an actual like flying plane that you travel on. He says, when my life was plain, most chicks jetted, meaning like most girls took off. Like they saw my life and they weren't like impressed or satisfied with the kind of guy that I was at the time, so they just took off. They were like, oh, like he's not my kind of guy or whatever, so bye-bye. Right? So which is that's like a very like real thing if you've ever been through something like that. Like if you're not a girl's type, like she usually is not going to stick around for very long, right? She's going to go do her thing, live her life, and find a guy that's more suitable for her. And so and I'm sure like that probably like hurt his self-confidence at the time, like because he was pretty young when he put this song out. I don't know exactly how old he was, but I don't think he's too much older than me. And so I think when he put this song out, he might have been like, I don't know, like maybe his early 20s, or I don't know, or close to it. But from what I remember, he isn't too much older than myself. So he was a young guy. So I'm sure that like when he like liked, girls in the past, and like maybe they took off on him, like I'm sure that kind of like affected his self-esteem. He probably was like, oh man, like maybe I'm not the guy that I think I am, or maybe I don't have it with women as well as I think I do, right? But then he follows it up by saying, you said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. And for a long time, I didn't get that line. I was like, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches, like. And I was like, oh, okay. And like after I kept like thinking about it for a little bit, bend down, right? That's like a homonym to bending down. Like bend, like BEEN, bend down, but then also bend down like you do when you're touching your toes, like a toe touch stretch. He said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. Dope, man. Dope wordplay right there. So that was, again, he's very slick with like his wordplay. It's like very, usually kind of like subtle lines, but usually that aren't like super hard to catch. But like when you do catch it, you're like, oh man, that was slick. Like that was like a nice, like subtle little way to just kind of slip that word in there and give the line like more meaning or more like heaviness to it. So I really like that. I love that line. You said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. And he says, I even set expectations and you never ever met it, but I give you my heart. You ain't even call a medic. Come on, bro. Right? So like, I even set expectations and you never ever met it. So I think that he's saying, I was always confused a little bit if he was saying that, like, if he's saying this to the girl or if the girl is saying that to him, the part about setting the expectations and that either she never met his expectations or he never met her expectations. I was never really sure, but he says I, so I'm assuming, it's him telling this to her. I even set expectations and you never ever met it. And then, but then if this is like a continuation from the line before, then I'm thinking it's the girl talking to him, because he said, you said, boy, I've been down like toe touch stretches. I even set expectations and you never ever met it. So like maybe she had like her own expectations of him, like just as far as like, maybe trust, like, trust me to be there for you and to like believe in you as you, go along this rap journey and whatnot. That's what I was always like thinking. I was thinking that she was saying that to him, but I could be wrong, and there's no way to really check because they don't have this part highlighted. So obviously Genius didn't break that part down, unfortunately. But that's always just like been a line that I was always like curious whether it was from his perspective or her perspective as far as like who that was being said to. And then after that he says, but I gave you my heart, you ain't even call a medic. So like he's basically saying like, either he's saying this to her or she's saying this to him. I'm not, it gets a little like, ambiguous as far as like who's saying what in these lines, just because it goes back and forth so much. I used to think that he was saying this line to her, but she very well could be saying this line to him, right? Like I think these last three lines right here, this could all be like from her perspective. So she might be telling him like, I give you my heart, you ain't even call a medic. Like I basically, I gave you my all, I gave you my heart, told you I loved you, blah, 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 right? Like did everything that I could to reassure you like how much I care about you. And then, but you ain't even call a medic. So like, right, like a medic, when they, like, when somebody flatlines, right, or their heart, they flatline, their heartbeat stops or whatever, and then they have to get like the, what do you call it? Not the jaws of life, but like, when they get shocked, like they get the shock to kind of like come back to life, the electrical shock. So he's saying like, you ain't even call a medic, right? Like I gave you my heart voluntarily. Like you didn't even need it, but I gave it to you anyways. Right. And then he says like, now she telling me to leave her alone, but I can't, like she got bad credit. Fire lines. Super fire line. So like, so she telling me to leave her alone. Like literally she's telling me to like leave her alone, like don't bother her anymore, like stay out of my life. Because like I guess now she's like mad at him, right? Because maybe he didn't appreciate her for like when she was around, and so now she's like, you know what, leave me alone. But like leave her alone, like alone, like LOAN, like when you have to like loan somebody money or whatever, or like write a check to them, give them a loan. Fire. But I can't, like she got bad credit. So like when you have a bad credit score, a lot of times you can't take loans out. So you can't like get loans from the bank or whatever, because like your credit is so bad that you just can't do that. Like that's no longer an option for you. So that's one of like the unfortunate consequences of having bad credit. So if you're not paying your bills on time and whatnot, and then you rack up a bunch of like bad credit, you can no longer take out loans. So now she's telling me to leave her alone, but I can't, like she got bad credit. So he's saying like I literally can't leave her alone. Like I keep hitting her up, or I'm always trying to see like what's going on with her and whatnot. But as if she has like bad credit. Like if I was like actually like giving her a loan, like a sum of money, but I can't because she has bad credit. Like that was just such a dope like wordplay line. I really, really like how he wrote that. That was such a like slick wordplay. Again, like the homonym of alone and alone. Fire. Super, super dope. And then here we go. He says next line, he says, I guess it's deaded with me. You both have left it in eternal sunshine, but my spotless mind won't forget it. So I accept it and pray no one intercept it, giving the globe my soul and hope everybody accept it. So those lines right there always stood out to me. I was like, man, when I heard this like for the first time, I was like, bro, this dude is so real. Like you could tell he's a very like heartfelt type of writer. And that's why I always like resonated with his music and his writing, because this is the kind of stuff that I would try to write. Like these were the thoughts that I would try to convey when I was making my own music. So but yeah, he says, I guess it's deaded with me. You both have left it in eternal sunshine, but my spotless mind won't forget it. And so I think what he's saying is like he may be like forever in debt to this girl or whatever, because of like how much she did for him. And so like he's like forever in her debt, right? Like he always feels like at the end of the day, like he owes her for how much that she did for him, whether it was just like being by his side or like whatever it was. Like he feels like he's in debt to her. So I guess it's deaded with me. You both have left it in eternal sunshine, but my spotless mind won't forget it. So you both have left it in eternal sunshine. I think he's saying like, I think what he's trying to say is like the past is like the past, right? Like whatever moments and whatever moments that they experienced in the past, like that's forever in the past. Even if those were like the most like sunshiny, like best times of his life or whatever, like best moments for both of them. Like the past is the past, so he's left it in eternal sunshine. But he says, but my spotless mind won't forget it. Like he's somebody that has like, I guess like a great memory, right? So he's got a spotless mind, so he can recall all the things that happened in the past to him. And no matter how much, like no matter how hard he tries to forget, he could never forget like the times that he had with her, just because like it was so significant in his life. And then Genius kind of breaks that line down even more, and they say that it's actually a reference to the Jim Carrey movie / Jay Electronica project called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I've never seen or heard of that, so I honestly don't know exactly like what he's trying to reference there. If he meant to reference this project that they're talking about. I've never seen it. I don't know if it's like a movie or what. It looks like a movie to me based off of this this little ad thing right here. But and Jim Carrey is a part of it, so I'm assuming it's like a movie. And I guess Jay Electronica, who was another rapper, I guess had like a hand in this project, whatever it be, like a film or music, whatever it is. So, but yeah, so I guess he's also like making a reference to that, whatever that project is with, Jim Carrey and Jay Electronica. So I thought that's pretty cool too. And then he says, so I accept it and pray no one intercept it. So I think what he's saying is like, I've accepted that, again, the past is the past and I can't change that. So, I have to like basically look forward to making my own future now. So like the past is the past. So if it didn't work out with him and this girl or whatever, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like if it didn't work, it didn't work. Maybe it's not meant to work. But then at the same time, he says, and I pray no one intercepts it. So like maybe maybe he's keeping hope deep down that like one day it will work out for the rest of them, or like for the two of them. I mean, maybe he still has hope that like him and this girl are gonna get together one day and like work out their differences and maybe like live happily ever after or whatever you want to call it. But I think maybe like deep down he still has hope that things could work out. So like maybe he's like holding on to that hope a little bit. And then he says, given the globe my soul and hope everybody accept it. So this says given as in like, like when you take something as a given. I always thought he was saying like given like as in like a slang for giving, like he's giving the globe his soul and hopes everybody accepts it. That's how I always took the line. But if he's saying given as in like Given, I mean, that could honestly change like the whole meaning of the line, because if that's the case, then he's saying, given the globe my soul. So then maybe he's saying like metaphorically the earth is his soul, right? And so, and he's hoping that like as a collective, everybody accepts, his soul. Like, given that if he's like earth, if earth is his soul, then he's hoping that everybody that lives, in his soul, which sounds kind of weird, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like in a metaphorical type of way, as like an idiom, basically. Like he's hoping that everybody, living within his like world or whatever, is willing to accept, him and his, his flaws and everything that comes with him. So I think that's basically what he's trying to say there. And he says, making it is never what you expected. I told my girls she'll never watch from the sofa. Tell my haters hit record on their remote controllers until my totem falls over. So again, that dope outro. But right before we get into that outro, he says, making it is never what you expected. I love that. I mean, that's just such a simple line, but it speaks volumes, honestly, to like anybody that's ever like been a dreamer, had a dream of whether it be like music or like, being some kind of celebrity, whatever it may be, something that maybe puts you in like a high status position or like gets you recognized for your skills or talents. I think that, that's just such an important line, because when you're young, you tend to have like a outlook, I guess, or like a vision of what making it looks like what you think it would look like when you finally make it, right? And you're getting all this like fame and attention and whatnot. And then a lot of times when you do get to that level where you start to get it, like things don't look necessarily like how you envision them. And I think that's basically what he's trying to say. Like your dream isn't necessarily gonna look the way that you thought it would when you were young, because there's so much about life that you still don't know, right? You're still like young, you're learning as an individual, just how hard and how hard life can be, how ruthless people are. You got snakes. Sometimes you have snakes within your own circle, people you thought you could trust that end up stabbing you in the back, whatever it may be. Like there's a ton of trials and tribulations that life's gonna push you through. And I think he's just kind of like, reflecting on that idea, like making it is never what you expected. So like you think you know what you want, and you think you know what it's going to look like when you finally get what you want. But more often than not, like it's not what you thought it was going to be. And so I just that line just speaks volumes because I think everybody can relate to that. Because if you've ever dreamed about something and like shot for the stars, like always went as hard as you could for whatever you wanted that you were passionate about, and then you finally get it, and sometimes it doesn't feel like how you thought it would feel, or things don't pan out the way that you thought they would, and then you kind of like take a step back and like reflect, like, oh, maybe this, maybe I wasn't ready for this, or maybe this dream turned out to be something else than I initially thought it was. So I just think that's such a dope line that he threw that in there, just as like a last like thing to kind of think about as he like closes out this last verse, and then he goes into a very similar outro as the first verse. The only real difference is instead of talking about his mom this time, he says he's talking about his girl, right? Which he kind of like was talking about this whole time, like through the end of the song. And he says, I told my girl she'll never watch from the sofa. Tell my haters hit record on their remote controllers until my totem falls over. So very similar to that first outro, but now, his mom has been replaced with his girl. And so he's saying like, I'll make sure, again, you're never in that position where you have to like watch me on TV from a sofa, right? Collecting all my accolades and awards and all that. Like I want you to be right there with me, experiencing like all of my greatest accomplishments with me, because you've been there for me the whole time and you're important to me. So I want you to be able to experience that kind of stuff with me as well. So just a really dope, writer, great song, and I just XV to me is like one of the coolest, most humble artists I've ever seen as far as like rap goes, And obviously he's got his music where like he talks his stuff and all that. I mean that's like every rapper does that, right? But he just comes off to me as like a very genuine guy who like really sincerely cares about the people in his life, and all the people that have been there for him through his journey, whether it be from day one or somebody that he met along the way that proved to be like a real friend or like family member to him. That kind of stuff is very important to him. And so I do know for a fact, I hate to bring astrology into this because I'm just gonna let you guys know right now, I'm not like super into astrology. I'm not gonna say I don't believe in it, but like I don't believe it to the extent that like all these like astrology people out here that say, especially like the girls that be like, oh, if he's not Capricorn, then I can't date him. Like you know what I mean? Like I think that's like some of the biggest load of BS I've ever heard. I know some people are like really into astrology like that. I personally am not somebody like that. But the only reason I bring that up is to say that XV I do know is a Cancer, and I am a Cancer as well. So both of our birthdays are in July, and I noticed that he kind of like has a lot of the same values or whatever when it comes to like his writing. I feel like he expresses a lot of the same like core values that I have, and I just wanted to like kind of point that out as being like a possible reason maybe why I like resonate with his music so heavily, is because again, like I said, like I feel like I can relate to this guy a lot, and maybe that, I mean, you could maybe like suggest that his sign has something to do with that, but I mean, I'm not gonna like say like, oh, it's because he's a Cancer that like I mess with his music so heavy. Like at the end of the day, I just think he's a dope dude, like a dope person. Whether his sign, if he was a Pisces, if he was an Aries, I don't care. Like if he wrote this song the exact same way and was a completely different sign, it would not matter, is what I'm saying, right? I don't think people should like put so much emphasis on like astrology as being like the reason why we click with certain people. I mean, I'm sure it has like there's similarities, right? Like usually like same sign people will have like certain characteristic traits or whatever that are very similar or whatnot, but I wouldn't say that's like law, like because like how many think about it, how many people have ended up together that were like maybe completely opposite signs or whatever, or like signs that they say like are usually like normally totally incompatible, and then they end up being like the happiest couple you've ever seen, right? So that right there in itself should be enough proof to tell people that astrology is not like
a definite like finite thing when it comes to like compatibility and people and all that. But all that to say that I know I kind of went on a tangent right there, but basically I just wanted to point that out because I didn't even know that for like the longest time that he was a Cancer. I actually found that out like years later when I started like going back and like revisiting his music, and I was just curious to see like like when his like birthday was, like so I could like figure out his sign. And I was like, oh, okay, he turns out to be a Cancer like me. Like he's a July baby too. So I was like, I just thought that was really dope, and I was like, okay, that's something that we have in common. So I was like, it kind of like makes a little more sense to me now. But yeah, and so again, very very dope outro, and that's the last verse of the song. So again, it after that it just goes right back into the hook or chorus, whatever you want to call it, and he basically just ends the song like that. Again, this is the life that I never will forget. I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit. So I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. This is the life that I never will forget. I'm inside a dream that I never want to quit. So I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. I'm just sitting back, waiting for the kick. Wait for it. So there you go. Sip a little water real quick, y'all. Give me a sec. All right, excuse me. So, um, I guess this is like the album version. So, like, if you were to listen to this on YouTube, like, play the music video that I was showing in part one, or listen to like the audio version. I don't think there's any interlude or anything because I've never heard like this last part that they have on Genius right here. But I guess there is like an interlude between this song and whatever comes up next on Popular Culture. I haven't listened to like the album in a minute or the mixtape, whatever the project. I haven't listened to like the project in order in a minute, so I don't remember exactly what song comes next. But I guess there's like an interlude in between, and I guess somebody says there is no room in your life for love. That's the way you feel about it. That's the way it is. You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle. Okay, it just came to me. Okay, so now after reading that, I know where at least where that last line is from. I don't know. I don't know if this entire section is from that movie, but I know that last line is from that movie with Tom Cruise and Jack Nicholson. The name is escaping me right now. I wish they would have highlighted it so I could like check it. But it's from that movie. We all know that famous line, like "You can't handle the truth." So I guess he kind of like quotes that in his interlude as like an outro between for this song and then as a transition into whatever the next song is on the project. But yeah, you can't handle the truth. So I thought that's really cool that he kind of like used that as like a interlude in between songs. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's my thoughts on the Kick by XV. Again, one of my absolute favorite songs of all time. Definitely means a lot to me. It's a song that I go back and revisit like time and time again, just whenever I need like inspiration, for my pen or just in life. Like it's his lyrics always speak to me on a very deep level, and like the fact that he rapped it over that Hans Zimmer score called Time. Man, it's just like it's one of the coolest, most epic things to me, and this song always holds a special place in my heart, and so it's one that I'll never forget. And I'm very thankful to XV for making this song because it did kind of like get me through a tough time. Because oddly enough, I was going through kind of a tough time with a girl at the time around the time that this came out. I mean, he dropped this like a little before I was kind of going through that time period with the girl. I mean, he dropped this in like December 2011, and 2012 was like one of the hardest years of my life just because of I was dealing with something major with a girl that I had like very deep feelings for at the time. And so, you know, it's ironic that he dropped this like right around that time. And like even in this song, he's kind of like talking about like a girl that he loves and, you know, and like the issues that he had with her. So, I mean, you know, I don't think that's a coincidence, man. Like everything's meant to be. Like you find I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. And I believe that, you know, I found this song at like kind of like the perfect time. Like this song kind of helped me heal and get through a lot of what I was going through with, you know, that you know said girl at the time. So I'm very very thankful to XV. You know that this song means a lot more to me than he'll ever know. So very very thankful to XV. Shout outs to him, man. Super dope artist. Highly recommend him. Really highly recommend you guys check out his music. All of his like, because he's still making music as far as I know. He dropped a project. I think he's dropped like several projects, you know, somewhat recently. I think one of the last like projects I heard from him was called Soil, I want to say, and I think he dropped that maybe like a couple years ago. And so yeah, he's still making music to this day. I know he collabed with Mike Summers a lot, and they've made like a whole bunch of like music together. And like I said, he has a track on the Popular Culture project that has B.O.B. and Schoolboy Q. He even did a song with Kendrick Lamar, believe it or not. Yep. He had a mixtape that I believe was even before Popular Culture called Zero Heroes. And we'll definitely be going through some of the songs on that album. But he has a song on there that Kendrick Lamar is actually featured on. And I couldn't believe it, man. Like the first time I found that song on YouTube, I listened to it, I was like, no way. I was like, he collabed with Kendrick? I was like, you know, Kendrick, you know, can't be like a easy person to collab with. At least that's what I was thinking at the time. Just because of like how big Kendrick was, I was like, nah. I was like, there's no way. but yeah, he actually has a song with Kendrick, and eventually, you know, we'll talk about that one on the channel as well. But yeah, this is like my little lyric breakdown and thoughts on the Kick, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, man. That's my thoughts, and I really don't know what else to say except it's a really dope song. Highly recommend you guys check it out. I will have the link for it in the description of these videos, part 1 and part 2, so you guys can check it out. And I guess to close out, I'll just show you this real quick. This is my laptop back a little bit. This is a little drawing I did back in 2017, and I basically got like the imagery for it from a audio version of the Kick that somebody uploaded to YouTube, and it basically has like